thelawofgod.org. Appendix 8C. The Biblical Festivals. Why none of them can be kept today. The Holy Festivals. What the law actually commanded. The annual festivals were not merely celebrations or cultural gatherings. They were holy convocations built around offerings, sacrifices, firstfruits, tithes, and purification requirements that God tied directly to the temple he chose. Deuteronomy 12:5-6, 12:11, 16:2, 16:5-6. Every major feast, Passover, Unleavened Bread, Weeks, Trumpets, the Day of Atonement, and Tabernacles, required the worshiper to appear before the Lord in the place he chose, not in any location the people preferred. Deuteronomy 16:16-17. Passover required a lamb offered at the sanctuary. Deuteronomy 16:5-6. The festival of unleavened bread required daily offerings made by fire. Numbers 28:17-19. The festival of weeks required offerings of firstfruits. Deuteronomy 26:1-2, 26:9-10. The festival of trumpets required sacrifices made by fire. Numbers 29:1-6. The Day of Atonement required priestly rituals in the Holy of Holies. Leviticus 16:2-34. The festival of tabernacles required daily sacrifices. Numbers 29:12-38. The eighth-day assembly required additional offerings as part of the same festival cycle. Numbers 29:35-38. God described these festivals with great precision and repeatedly stressed that they were his appointed times, to be observed exactly as he commanded. Leviticus 23:1-2, 23:37-38. No part of these observances was left to personal interpretation, local custom, or symbolic adaptation. The place, the sacrifices, the priests, and the offerings were all part of the command. How Israel obeyed these commandments in the past. When the temple stood, Israel obeyed the festivals exactly as God instructed. The people traveled to Jerusalem for the appointed times. Deuteronomy 16:16-17. Luke 2:41-42. They brought their sacrifices to the priests, who offered them upon the altar. They rejoiced before the Lord in the place he sanctified. Deuteronomy 16:11. Nehemiah 8:14-18. Even Passover itself, the oldest of all national festivals, could not be observed in homes after God established a central sanctuary. It could be kept only in the place where the Lord set his name. Deuteronomy 16:5-6. Scripture also shows what happened when Israel attempted to keep the festivals improperly. When Jeroboam created alternative festival days and places, God condemned his entire system as sin. 1 Kings 12:31-33. When the people neglected the temple or allowed impurity, the festivals themselves became unacceptable. 2 Chronicles 30:18-20. Isaiah 1:11-15. The pattern is consistent. Obedience required the temple, and without the temple, there was no obedience. Why these festival commandments cannot be obeyed today. After the destruction of the temple, the commanded structure for the festivals ceased to exist. Not the festivals themselves, the law does not change, but the required elements. No temple, no altar, no Levitical priesthood, no sacrificial system, no commanded place for offering firstfruits, no ability to present the Passover lamb, no Holy of Holies for the Day of Atonement, no daily sacrifices during Tabernacles. Because God required these elements for festival obedience, and because they cannot be replaced, adapted, or symbolized, true obedience is now impossible. As Moses warned, Israel was not permitted to offer Passover in any town the Lord your God gives you, but only in the place the Lord will choose. Deuteronomy 16:5-6. The law still exists. The festivals still exist, but the means of obedience are gone, removed by God himself. Lamentations 2:6-7. The error of symbolic or invented festival observance. Many today attempt to honor the festivals through symbolic reenactments, congregation-based gatherings, or simplified versions of biblical commands, holding Passover seders without a lamb, hosting feasts of tabernacles with no sacrifices, celebrating Shavuot without firstfruits taken to a priest, creating new moon services never commanded in the Torah, inventing practice festivals or prophetic festivals as substitutes. None of these practices appear anywhere in Scripture. None were practiced by Moses, David, Ezra, Jesus, or the apostles. None match the commandments God gave. God does not accept symbolic offerings. Leviticus 10:1-3. God does not accept worship performed anywhere. Deuteronomy 12:13-14. God does not accept rituals created by human imagination. Deuteronomy 4:2. A festival without sacrifices is not the biblical festival. A Passover without a lamb offered in the temple is not Passover. A Day of Atonement without priestly service is not obedience. To imitate these laws without the temple is not faithfulness. It is presumption. The festivals await the temple. Only God can restore. The Torah calls these festivals lasting ordinances throughout your generations. Leviticus 23:14, 23:21, 23:31, 23:41. Nothing in Scripture, law, prophets, or Gospels ever cancels that description. Jesus himself affirmed that not even the smallest letter of the law would fall until heaven and earth pass away. Matthew 5:17-18. Heaven and earth remain, therefore the festivals remain. But they cannot be obeyed today because God has removed the place, the altar, the priesthood, the sacrificial system that define the festivals. Therefore, until God restores what he removed, we honor these commandments by acknowledging their perfection, not by inventing symbolic replacements. Faithfulness means respecting God's design, not modifying it. This series and many other studies on the law of God can be found on the site, thelawofgod.org.